chosen one. Something in the unseen has just shifted in your favor, and if you can feel even the slightest stillness right now, it is not your imagination, it is heaven drawing your attention. This is not a random moment in your day. This is a divine interruption. You were guided here because something has already been decided in the spirit concerning your life. The weight you have been carrying, the quiet worries you have tried to manage on your own, they have not gone unnoticed. Heaven has been watching, not with judgment, but with intention. Anointed one, there comes a time, as it is written in Ecclesiastes chapter 3 verse 1, when everything aligns according to divine timing, and this is that moment for you. Not because you forced it, not because you figured everything out, but because your heart remained steady when no one else could see the cost. You have been preparing without realizing it. And now provision is no longer something distant, it is something being released. If this message is reaching you at the right time, stay connected so you do not miss what heaven continues to unfold for you. Because what is beginning now is not just support, it is a shift in your source. And the next part will reveal how you will recognize it. Chosen one, hear this clearly, because something in your life is being redefined right now, not on the surface, but at the root. There were moments you thought were slipping away, prayers you whispered that seemed to dissolve into silence, nights where your mind replayed every uncertainty like it was trying to solve something heaven had already settled. But nothing was wasted, not the tears you hid, not the strength you forced yourself to carry when no one noticed. It was all part of a forming, not a failing. Anointed one, the season where survival felt like your full-time assignment is coming to an end. You were pushing, striving, stretching yourself beyond what felt sustainable, trying to hold everything together as if the outcome depended entirely on you. But heaven never designed you to live like that. There is a difference between movement and pressure, between effort and striving. And right now, you are being called out of that pressure. There is a stillness being introduced into your life, but do not misunderstand it. This is not passivity. This is power under control. This is where you stop negotiating with fear, where you stop letting urgency dictate your decisions, where you stop waking up already braced for what could go wrong. As it is written in Exodus chapter 14, verse 14, "The Lord will fight for you, and you shall hold your peace." That peace is not weakness. That peace is alignment. Chosen one, look back for a moment at the doors that did not open, the opportunities that slipped through your hands, the paths that suddenly closed without explanation. You called some of it delay. You even called some of it loss. But heaven calls it protection. There were places you wanted to go that would have drained your spirit. There were situations you almost entered that would have cost you your clarity. You were not being denied. You were being redirected. And there is something sacred about disappointment when it is guided by God. Because disappointment has a way of revealing what you were holding on to too tightly. It exposes attachments that were never meant to carry your future. And when those things fall away, your hands are no longer full of what cannot sustain you. They become open to receive what was always meant for you. Anointed one. This is why this moment feels different. This is not just encouragement. This is a recalibration happening inside of you. Heaven is touching the inner structure of your thinking, the part of you that learned to prepare for the worst, to anticipate lack, to scan every situation for potential danger. You have been living in a constant state of calculation, watching numbers, checking time, bracing for impact before anything even happens. You know that feeling. The way your chest tightens before you even open your banking app. The way your mind jumps ahead when you see a notification already expecting something to go wrong. The way the word money itself can feel like pressure instead of peace. That is not just a habit. That is a system that was built in you during seasons of uncertainty. But chosen one, heaven is interrupting that system, not by making you careless, but by making you anchored. Not by removing responsibility, but by removing fear from the center of it. There is a shift happening in your source. You're being moved away from the illusion that everything depends on your control into the reality that provision flows from alignment. God is funding your life, but not in the way you were taught to expect. This is not about sudden excess without understanding. This is about a deeper foundation being established inside of you. Because when provision comes without preparation, it creates pressure. But when it comes with alignment, it creates peace. You are being carried by grace now, not driven by grind. And grace has a rhythm. It does not rush. It does not panic. It moves with clarity. It builds from trust. It allows you to take a step without feeling like everything will collapse if you pause. As it is written in Philippians chapter 4, verse 19, God will supply all your needs according to his riches in glory. Notice what that means. It does not say your needs are met according to your stress level. It does not say your provision increases when your anxiety increases. Worry has never been your provider. Fear has never been your strategy. They were just loud, and loud does not mean true. Chosen one. There is a shift in the atmosphere around you. You may not see it fully yet, but you can feel it. A strange calm where there used to be spiraling thoughts, a quiet clarity where confusion once lived. You may even notice yourself saying no to things you used to accept just to feel secure. That is not you losing opportunities. That is you gaining discernment. Heaven is resetting your internal world. No more living from lack. No more decisions led by fear. No more striving as your default. This is not temporary emotion. This is a reordering. And here is what you need to understand. Anointed one divine provision often begins in ways that are easy to overlook. It does not always arrive as a dramatic breakthrough. Sometimes it shows up as small, precise adjustments. A situation resolving itself without conflict. A financial burden easing in a way you did not expect. A conversation that opens a door without pressure. You start to notice something shifting. Things are working but without force. You're no longer begging for alignment. You are walking into it. And if you pay attention, you will see it. The right timing, the right connection, the right idea arriving with peace instead of pressure. This is how heaven moves when it is backing your life. Chosen one, do not rush past what you are feeling right now. This is not random. This is sacred. There is a presence in this moment that is steady, intentional, and real. Because as it is written in Matthew chapter 18 verse 20, where 2 or 3 are gathered in his name, he is there among them. And what is unfolding now goes beyond finances. This is about stewardship. This is about boundaries. This is about becoming the kind of person who can hold what is being released without losing peace in the process. Because in the next part, you are going to see something clearly. The first internal shift that proves your life is already being funded, and why it always begins within you before it ever shows up around you. Chosen. One, listen carefully, because what you are about to recognize will change the way you interpret your own life. The first evidence that heaven has begun funding you is not found in your bank account, your opportunities, or your external circumstances. It begins in a place most people overlook. It begins in your inner state. You may have noticed it already, but you did not call it what it is. There is a calm starting to replace the tension. Not completely, not all at once, but enough for you to notice that something is different. Situations that used to send your thoughts into overdrive are no longer gripping you the same way. There is space now where there used to be pressure. Anointed one, that is not coincidence. That is confirmation. Because when heaven begins to fund a life, the first thing it restores is not finances, it restores peace. Peace arrives before proof. Calm precedes confirmation. This is the order of divine provision. And if you are still looking for external signs first, you will miss what is already happening within you. You have lived long enough in reaction mode, every decision weighed by what could go wrong, every step filtered through fear of loss. That mindset made you responsible, yes, but it also made you heavy. It trained your body to stay alert, even when there was no real danger. And now heaven is correcting that posture. You are learning how to stand without bracing, to breathe without scanning for the next problem, to make decisions without rushing just to relieve anxiety. And I need you to understand this clearly. That is not weakness. That is alignment. Chosen one. There is a version of you that was built in survival. The one who learned to figure everything out alone. The one who became strong too early because there was no guarantee help would show up. That version of you carried you through difficult seasons. It kept you moving when everything felt uncertain, but it was never meant to lead you into overflow. Survival thinking does not translate into seasons of provision. It will make you hold too tightly when you are meant to steward. It will make you suspicious when you are meant to receive. It will make you restless when you are meant to rest. And this is why what is happening now feels unfamiliar. God is not just sending resources, He is retraining your responses. Anointed one, there is a new internal language forming in you, where your first instinct is no longer panic, but prayer. No longer calculation, but trust. No longer tightening your grip, but allowing space. You are unlearning the reflex that says everything depends on you. The old pattern said, hurry before it disappears. The new rhythm says, what is for you is sustained. The old pattern said, secure it before someone else takes it. The new rhythm says, it is already held for you. Chosen. One divine funding does not mean resources appear without wisdom. It means wisdom arrives first, so that what comes next does not overwhelm you, because there are people who receive increase without preparation, and it creates more pressure, not less. They gain externally, but collapse internally. That is not how heaven builds. God stabilizes your foundation before He expands your capacity. And if you look closely at yourself right now, you will see the signs. You are less reactive to things that used to trigger you. You are no longer feeling the same urgency to explain yourself or prove your worth. Certain conversations that once felt normal now feel draining, and you instinctively pull back. That is not distance. That is discernment. That is your life reorganizing around a higher source. Chosen one. When heaven becomes your provider, comparison begins to lose its power. You stop measuring your timeline against other people's progress. You stop assuming their speed means your delay. You stop interpreting their visibility as your lack. Because divine provision does not rush, it arrives on time, not early enough to expose you before you are ready, and not late enough to break you. Anointed one. There were things that had to wait. Not because they were denied, but because your identity had to shift first. Because if money had arrived while you were still tied to lack thinking, it would have become your source instead of your tool. And heaven will not allow that. This is why rest is becoming important to you now in a way it never was before. Not as something you earn after exhaustion, but as something you choose as a declaration of trust. Rest is you saying, I believe the source is still working, even when I am not forcing. Anxiety says, everything will fall apart if you stop. Faith says everything aligns when you trust. And here is the truth. Chosen one. What is coming into your life will not feel like rescue. It will feel like partnership. God is not removing your responsibility. He is removing the weight of doing it alone. You will still move, you will still build, you will still make decisions, but you will no longer carry it with fear. And there is a moment approaching where you will look back and realize something that will shift everything, that the pressure you carried for so long was never required, that the strain came from believing you were unsupported. And once that belief breaks, everything begins to change. Or chosen one. Now that your inner world is beginning to shift, you are going to start noticing something else, subtle movements around you that feel different from anything you have experienced before. Not loud, not overwhelming, but precise, intentional, almost effortless. Because when heaven begins to fund your life, it does not announce itself with chaos. It arranges. Anointed. 1. One of the first external signs is timing. Things begin to fall into place at moments that feel almost too exact to be accidental. Information reaches you when you are finally ready to use it. Conversations happen at the right time, not rushed, not delayed. Opportunities appear when you have the clarity to recognize whether they are for you or not. This is not luck. This is order. You may have already seen glimpses of it. A situation that could have become complicated resolves without conflict. A financial pressure that felt heavy suddenly lifts or adjusts in a way you did not expect. A delay that once frustrated you reveals itself as protection from a path that would have drained you. Chosen one. Look closely. Things are no longer forcing themselves into your life. They are aligning, and that alignment has a different feeling. It is clean. It does not carry confusion. It does not demand that you sacrifice your peace to maintain it. It does not require you to chase it down or convince it to stay. It flows. Anointed one. Another sign you must not ignore is pruning. There will be things that begin to fall away, not violently, but naturally. Certain connections may grow distant. Invitations that once came easily may slow down. Conversations that used to feel normal may now feel exhausting. Do not mistake this for loss. This is refinement. Because God does not pour new wine into containers that cannot sustain it. He does not build expansion on unstable foundations. If something is leaving your life in this season, it is not being taken from you, it is being cleared. And I need you to hear this without hesitation. Chosen one, not everyone who was present during your struggle is assigned to your overflow. Some people were comfortable with the version of you that overgave, over-explained, and stretched yourself thin just to maintain connection. But as provision increases, your boundaries must mature, not out of selfishness, but out of stewardship. Anointed one, this is wisdom. You are not here to carry everything for everyone. You are here to manage what heaven entrusts to you with clarity. And that means recognizing where your energy is being drained versus where it is being multiplied. Another sign you will begin to notice is the way ideas come to you. They will not arrive with pressure. They will not feel frantic or urgent. They will come with a steady clarity, a sense of peace attached to them. You will begin to see solutions where you once saw only problems, pathways where there once felt like walls. This is how heaven invests. It sends strategy before supply, so that when the supply arrives, it already has direction. Chosen one, your tolerance is also changing. Environments that once felt normal may now feel overwhelming. Noise becomes more obvious. Drama becomes less attractive. You may find yourself stepping back, choosing silence over engagement, clarity over chaos. That is not withdrawal. That is your spirit being tuned. Because provision flows where peace is honored. And if your environment cannot hold peace, it cannot sustain what is coming. Anointed One, let me bring this into something practical. Your effort will not disappear, but the frustration attached to it will. You will still work, but your work will begin to produce results without constant resistance. You will still plan, but your plans will not require endless correction. You will still face challenges, but they will not shake your foundation. That is the difference. Chosen One, what you are stepping into is not just financial increase, it is a complete shift in how your life operates. Emotional clarity, relational alignment, mental stability, spiritual awareness. All of it begins to reorganize at the same time, and here is what many people miss: money follows that alignment. It always has. When the inner order changes, the outer systems respond. Anointed One, do not overlook what is already happening just because it does not match your old expectations. You were conditioned to expect breakthrough to look dramatic because your struggles were dramatic. But healing is often quiet. Stability is often subtle. Security does not always feel intense. Sometimes it feels almost unfamiliar in its simplicity. But that does not make it small. It makes it sustainable. Chosen One, your role in this season is not to force outcomes. It is to remain aligned, to pay attention to what brings peace and what disrupts it, to notice where your energy is being restored and where it is being depleted. This discernment is part of your provision, and there is more unfolding than you can currently see. Things are being arranged with precision beyond your awareness. Doors are being positioned. Paths are being cleared. Connections are being aligned in ways you could not orchestrate on your own. Anointed One, this is where you must stay grounded, because in the next part you're going to understand something critical: how to remain positioned without slipping back into the old habits of fear and urgency while this provision continues to build. Because this is not just about receiving. This is about sustaining what heaven has already begun. Chosen One, now you are entering a part of this journey that requires something deeper than excitement. It requires awareness. Because once provision begins to flow, the greatest threat is no longer lack. The greatest threat is misalignment. Hear this clearly. Provision amplifies direction. Whatever you point it toward, it will accelerate. And that is why this season is not asking you to move faster, it is asking you to move clearer. Anointed One, the patterns you developed in seasons of scarcity will not automatically disappear just because things begin to open. They were built over time. They were reinforced through pressure, uncertainty, and survival. And if you are not mindful, those same patterns will try to follow you into a season they were never designed for. You may recognize them: the urge to say yes too quickly just in case the opportunity disappears. The tendency to overextend yourself, to give more than is required just to feel secure. The habit of accepting what is offered even when it disturbs your peace, because part of you still fears that nothing else will come. Chosen One, those patterns are not who you are. They are echoes of where you have been. And in this season, you are being asked to slow down your responses, not your obedience. There is a difference. Obedience flows from alignment. It feels clear, steady, grounded. Impulse, on the other hand, comes from fear. It feels rushed, urgent, pressured. You are learning to tell the difference. Anointed One, you will begin to notice a pause appearing in your life. A small space between the moment something is presented to you and the moment you respond. That pause may feel unfamiliar at first, but it is not hesitation, it is protection. It is where wisdom speaks. It is where clarity settles. And if you honor that pause, you will find that many of the things you once rushed into no longer hold the same power over you. Chosen one remaining positioned in this season does not mean doing more. It means becoming more aware, paying attention to what restores you instead of only focusing on what produces results, listening to your inner signals instead of overriding them. Because your body has been trying to tell you the truth for a long time. That tightness in your chest when something feels off. That heaviness when you consider a decision that does not align. That sense of ease when something is right, even if it does not make logical sense yet. That is not weakness. That is intelligence. Anointed one. Your nervous system is no longer in survival mode. It is learning how to communicate clearly now that it no longer has to shout over constant pressure. And if you listen, it will guide you into alignment more accurately than fear ever could. Chosen one. There is another shift happening that you must recognize. The need to prove yourself is being removed. In past seasons, you may have felt the need to explain your decisions, justify your choices, or demonstrate your worth to others. You may have believed that if people did not understand you, something was wrong. But hear this clearly: heaven does not fund explanations. It funds obedience. You do not owe anyone a performance to validate what God is doing in your life. And yes, some people may not understand the changes in you. They may say you have become distant. They may say you have changed. Let them. You are not withdrawing. You are consolidating. You are gathering your energy so it can be invested where it produces life, not where it gets drained. Anointed one, a life that is truly supported, does not need to be loud. It does not need constant validation. It does not need to prove its value. It becomes focused, intentional, grounded. And there will be moments, chosen one, where fear tries to return. Not in obvious ways, but in subtle questions. What if this stops? What if it disappears? What if I make a mistake and lose everything? When those thoughts rise, you must recognize them for what they are, remnants of an old system that no longer has authority over you. Return to what is written. The Lord will fight for you. You need only to be still. Stillness here does not mean inactivity. It means you refuse to rehearse disaster. You refuse to let imagined futures steal your present peace. Anointed one, staying positioned also requires honoring rhythm. There will be times to build, and there will be times to rest, and both are equally important. Because provision flows best in a life that respects balance. Burnout does not increase clarity. Exhaustion does not produce wisdom. If anything, they distort it. So if you feel tired, do not interpret that as failure. Do not push through it as if rest is something you must earn. See it for what it is, an invitation to realign. Chosen one. This is how you remain in flow. You choose rest without guilt. You choose clarity over urgency. You choose peace over pressure. And as you do, something powerful begins to happen. Provision meets you without force. Opportunities align without resistance. Decisions become simpler, not because life has no complexity, but because you are no longer carrying unnecessary weight. Anointed one, you are learning a new way of living, one where you move with awareness instead of reaction, where you build from stability instead of fear. And in the next part, you're going to understand something even deeper. How your relationship with money itself is being transformed in this season, and why that inner shift will determine how far this provision can truly take you. Chosen one. Now we arrive at something many people overlook, yet it determines everything that follows your relationship with money itself. Because when heaven begins funding your life, it is not just your circumstances that change, it is your perception. It is your agreement with what money means. And if that agreement is not healed, no amount of increase will bring you peace. Anointed One money is not just a resource, it carries memory. It reflects how it was handled, how it was pursued, how it was feared. And in past seasons, without even realizing it, you formed agreements with it. Agreements that sounded like this: money is my safety. Money determines my worth. Money decides whether I can breathe or not. Those agreements were not your fault. They were formed in seasons where lack felt real, where pressure was constant, where every decision seemed tied to survival. But those agreements also created tension. They made you vigilant, always watching, always calculating, always bracing, and now those agreements are being broken. Chosen One divine funding requires a new understanding. Money is no longer your source. It is a tool. It is one of many ways God supports your life, but it is not the foundation of your peace. And when that shift happens, something inside you begins to relax. The emotional charge around money starts to fade. Anointed One, you may notice this in small ways at first. The way you think about spending begins to change. You are no longer driven by urgency, no longer reacting out of fear. You begin to ask quieter, more grounded questions. Does this align with where I am going? Does this support the life I am building? Does this bring peace, or does it bring pressure? Those questions are not limitation. They are maturity. Chosen One, you are stepping into stewardship. And stewardship is not control, it is partnership. It is listening, responding, adjusting, and trusting that provision does not disappear when you honor alignment. In fact, provision often increases when you stop pouring energy into places that cannot hold it. Anointed One, generosity is also being redefined in your life. In past seasons, you may have given from guilt. You may have said yes when you wanted to say no. You may have stretched yourself thin just to maintain peace with others, but that was not true generosity. That was survival. Now giving becomes clean, intentional, peaceful. You give because it aligns, not because you are afraid of what will happen if you do not. You give from overflow, not from depletion. And there is also a boundary being restored around what you carry for others. You are not meant to rescue everyone. You are not meant to fund instability at the cost of your own peace. Compassion without wisdom leads to exhaustion. And heaven does not fund exhaustion. It funds stewardship. Chosen One. There may be moments where increase feels uncomfortable. Moments where things begin to resolve faster than you expected, where doors open without the struggle you're used to, where provision comes in ways that feel almost too easy. And part of you may start searching for the catch. But hear this. Clearly, ease is not a mistake. Sometimes ease is the evidence that you are finally aligned. You are no longer resisting support. You are no longer trying to earn what has already been prepared. You're allowing yourself to receive. Anointed One, as this shift deepens, your capacity begins to expand. Not just financially, but in every area of your life. You begin to lead differently. You begin to build with clarity. You begin to create from vision instead of fear. Because fear no longer dictates your choices. Vision does, and vision attracts provision naturally. This is how heaven funds a life from the inside out. Chosen One, stay present with this. Do not rush ahead. Do not try to control what is unfolding, because what is coming next requires a version of you that is no longer tied to lack, no longer driven by urgency, no longer defined by survival, and that version of you is already emerging. Anointed One, you may have already felt it, a quiet confidence beginning to rise. Not loud, not forced, not something you need to prove. Just a steady awareness that you are supported. You are no longer asking permission to trust yourself. You are no longer second-guessing every decision. as if one mistake will undo everything. That fear belonged to a different season. This season is different. What God is establishing in your life now is not fragile. It is not temporary. It is not easily shaken. Chosen one. This is where your authority begins to return. You will notice it in how you move. You will speak less, but your words will carry more weight. You will no longer feel the need to explain yourself to people who were never meant to understand your assignment. You will stop rehearsing worst-case scenarios in your mind, not because you became careless, but because you became anchored. Anointed one. When heaven supports a life, the atmosphere around that person changes. People begin to respond differently, not because you demand respect, but because peace commands attention. There is a stability in you now that others can feel, even if they cannot explain it. This is where leadership begins, not forced, not performed, but natural. You become someone who brings clarity into confusion, someone who stabilizes environments instead of absorbing their chaos, someone who carries weight without tension. And that is rare. Chosen one. You are learning how to carry responsibility without anxiety, how to build without fear, how to receive without guilt. And that is why this season matters so deeply, because heaven does not fund panic. It funds stewardship, and you are becoming someone who can be trusted with more. Anointed one. What has begun in your life will continue, not because of how hard you push, but because of the source that is sustaining it. Stay aligned, stay aware, stay grounded. Because you are no longer just surviving, you are being supported, you are being provided for, and you are stepping into a life where peace, purpose, and provision move together. Chosen one, let this settle deeply within your spirit. What is unfolding in your life is not fragile, and it is not uncertain. It is established. It is being sustained by a source greater than your effort, greater than your understanding. This is your appointed moment, where provision meets purpose and where peace begins to take the place of pressure. What you have felt is not imagination. It is confirmation. Heaven has already responded. Anointed one, walk forward without strain. You do not need to force what God has already aligned. Stay attentive to the quiet guidance, the small shifts, the steady peace that now leads you. What is being built in your life will not collapse, because it is not built on fear, it is built on divine order. Lift your heart in gratitude even now. Trust the process. Honor the peace. Remain aligned. If your spirit bears witness, you can write, "It is already provided as your agreement with what heaven has begun." And stay connected so you do not miss the next message meant for your journey. Go in peace, chosen one. You are covered, you are supported, and what has begun will be completed.